the shadowy corners of Chicago's history lies a place so feared, its very name was whispered in hushed tones. Manteno State Asylum, and within its decaying walls, there is one room that holds a secret darker than all the rest. Room 428. This is the story of a patient who vanished from a locked room, a room sealed from the inside. They say nobody leaves a place like this unless something else takes them. Manteno State Asylum, a very real institution just outside Chicago, was a place of last resort for the mentally afflicted in the mid-20th century. But it quickly gained a reputation for something else entirely. Strange events, unexplained incidents, and a pervasive sense of dread clung to its corridors. The hospital was eventually shut down, but the stories never left. Of all the rooms in this sprawling complex, room 428 was the one staff members actively avoided. A palpable cold spot seemed to linger by the door, and nurses often reported feeling watched. The patient assigned to room 428 was a quiet man, withdrawn and troubled, but he wasn't entirely alone. Staff frequently overheard him having long, one-sided conversations, not with himself, but with the dark corners of his room. He'd point to the empty space where the wall met the ceiling and whisper, as if sharing a secret with an unseen companion. The nurses were unnerved, but in a place like Manteno, this was tragically common. They logged it in his file and tried to forget. But one night, forgetting became impossible. It was just after 3 in the morning. During the so-called witching hour, a senior nurse was doing her routine checks, her soft-soled shoes making almost no sound on the cold linoleum floor. She approached room 428, expecting to see the patient sleeping soundly. Peering through the small, reinforced glass window on the door, she saw nothing. The bed was empty, the sheets thrown back as if someone had left in a hurry. Her heart began to pound. She fumbled for a master key, unlocked the heavy door, and pushed it open. The room was cold, unnaturally so. The window was sealed shut from the inside, bolted and barred as it always was. There was no escape route, no hidden panel, no way out. The patient was simply gone, but he had left something behind, etched deep into the plaster of the wall. Near the corner he always spoke to were long, frantic claw marks. They weren't human. Panic erupted among the night staff. The police were called, and a full-scale investigation was launched. The investigation only deepened the mystery. Detectives were baffled. There were no signs of a struggle, no forced entry, no indication of how anyone could have exited a room locked and sealed from within. The asylum's own internal review was even stranger. When investigators tried to review surveillance footage from the hallway cameras, they found the tape from that night was filled with nothing but screeching static, starting just minutes before the nurse discovered the empty room. Stranger still, the patient's medical files seemed to change. Pages went missing, and new, nonsensical entries appeared, written in a spidery, unfamiliar handwriting. The staff, already on edge, began reporting chilling phenomena. Late at night, from behind the newly locked door of room 428, they'd hear a faint, guttural whisper that sounded like, "He's still here." The lights in the corridor would flicker and die whenever anyone walked past that specific door, plunging them into sudden, terrifying darkness. The asylum, once a place of healing, had become a house of fear. In the weeks and months following the man's disappearance, the paranormal activity escalated. It was no longer just whispers and flickering lights. Night staff reported seeing amorphous shadows crawling up the walls of the hallway, moving like liquid ink against the pale paint. Some heard what sounded like slow, heavy breathing just on the other side of room 428 is a locked door. Footsteps would echo down empty halls, stopping abruptly right outside. One terrified doctor, while reviewing patient charts late one night, glanced at a reflective window and saw a tall, unnaturally thin silhouette standing directly behind him. He spun around to find nothing but empty space. The night guards, hardened men used to the asylum's unsettling atmosphere, began quitting their jobs without notice, some leaving their posts mid-shift, too terrified to even collect their final paycheck. The asylum was hemorrhaging staff, and the legend of room 428 grew with every departure. 10 years passed. Manteno State Asylum was now a derelict, abandoned shell, a monument to forgotten suffering. But the story wasn't over. 2 security guards, hired to patrol the perimeter of the decaying property, were making their rounds one night. As their flashlight beams cut through the darkness, they both froze, standing in the rubble-strewn courtyard. Directly in front of the boarded-up entrance that led to the wing containing room 428 was a man. He was wearing a tattered, old-fashioned hospital gown. His skin was deathly pale, his eyes were wide and black, and his mouth hung open in a silent scream. He was staring, unblinking, directly at the security camera mounted on a nearby pole. One of the guards blinked, a purely involuntary reaction to the horrifying sight. In that split second, the figure vanished. Shaken, they rushed back to their security office to review the camera footage. As the grainy recording played back, they watched themselves staring into the empty courtyard. There was no man. But then, as the camera's perspective showed their own backs, the monitor fizzled into static, and for a single, horrifying frame, a gaunt, skeletal figure materialized on the screen, standing right behind them in the security office. To this day, the ruins of Manteno State Asylum draw urban explorers and paranormal investigators, all hoping to catch a glimpse of the unexplained. Those who have dared to venture near the wing of room 428 report the same terrifying experiences. A strange, cold, reddish fog that materializes from nowhere in the hallway. The distinct silhouette of a man sitting on the edge of the bed, visible for just a moment through the grimy window of the locked door. And the whispers, faint but clear, a voice seeming to come from the very walls, pleading, "Don't open the door." Some explorers have even reported the chilling sensation of being followed, catching a glimpse of a tall, dark shadow tailing them all the way out of the building, only to disappear once they cross the property line. Room 428 remains sealed, a silent tomb holding a 10-year-old secret. Some say a missing patient never truly left, that he still wanders the silent, dust-choked halls of the asylum, forever searching for someone to take his place behind that locked door. So if you ever find yourself exploring an abandoned place, and you hear a soft voice whisper your name from the darkness, don't turn around. And before you leave, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because the shadows here, they don't like being ignored.